Alabama pausing executions after third failed lethal injection. Still not sure why we don't use opioids or inert gas. This drug cocktail has caused issues for as long as I remember. It took them 3 hours to execute the last guy. Doesn't the Constitution prohibit cruel and unusual punishment? Legal tactics and criminals hijacking the system are at play here. Where does one go to learn how to make their veins physically inaccessible to and for needle using legal tactics and subversion of the system? I believe that if the government fails at killing you, they only get one shot. It's because legal tactics and criminals hijacking the system are at play here, according to the governor. I'm curious to hear what legal strategy makes veins inaccessible. I guess we'd better rethink how to impose permanent solutions to imperfect justice. In Birmingham they love the governor boo boo boo, we all did what we could do. We cannot find a vein for lethal chemicals, is that a legal strategy? Tell me true. Reminder that if you support the death penalty you must accept one of two conditions. The government never makes mistakes, or it is okay for the government to occasionally execute innocent people. Let me know which one you believe. Someone needs to put me in a home already. Lethal injection is expensive, vulnerable and is an inefficient and unethical way to execute somebody. USA and Japan are the only developed countries that still use capital punishment, in good company with Saudi Arabia, Iran, China, and North Korea. Even Russia has stopped capital punishment. Alabama can't fix something that is inherently damaged. Posthumous exonerations exist. I sleep. Fail to efficiently murder a man, real shit. I don't know anything about this, so excuse my ignorance, but we put animals down every single day. Probably by the 100s. Is it significantly harder to do this with a human than a horse? From what I understand, putting down animals is very humane and they do not suffer at all. Why can't we figure out how to do this with our own species? It's a wasteful and useless form of punishment. It's more expensive than the average cost of life imprisonment. How about pausing executions forever because they killed the wrong person so many times? I had to be put under anesthesia at the hospital recently. They could have killed me and I would have had no idea. Why can't prisons do that? What's so hard to figure out? The craziest thing to me was the jury for this guy voted 11-1 on a life imprisonment, but the judge just decided to overrule that. Our justice system is fucked. Serious question, why don't they just overdose prisoners on fentanyl or heroin? Someone explain why nitrogen asphyxiation isn't the go-to choice for these states? I'm against the death penalty, but those who want it have an obvious option, essentially never fails. Always confused why they don't just give someone carbon monoxide poisoning or have them out on opiates. Doesn't take long, doesn't cost much, always kills, and best of all is painless and humane. Abolish the death penalty. How effing dumb do you gotta be to fuck up killing someone? 6 million ways to die and these morons can't figure out one that will work. If we were humane enough to care about humane executions, we probably wouldn't be executing people to begin with. There are faster and simpler ways to do this. If you support the death penalty, you also undeniably support executing innocent people. No matter what, if the death penalty exists, innocent people will be killed. It's already happened multiple times in the past and will continue happening. It's a 100 fact that guilt is impossible to determine with complete confidence, so how in the holy do any of you still support the death penalty? The death penalty continues to exist in the U.S. because in large part, Americans believe that justice must come with a measure of vengeance. Even working correctly, lethal injections are a pretend civil way of torturing someone to death. The shots do not put you gently to sleep, the shots force you to act like that is what's happening while liquid fire is injected into your veins and you feel your lungs seize up and you slowly suffocate inside your own body. But the shots cause you to relax with your eyes shut, so it's a real treat for the audience. Denying that prison officials or law enforcement are to blame for the problems, Ivy said legal tactics and criminals hijacking the system are at play here. How? Fuck Alabama for being so backward and stuck in the 1890s. I'm a pharmacist and we actually had a long discussion in our ethics class in pharmacy school about how we might someday be asked to come up with a lethal injection cocktail if we worked for the prison system in a shitty state, and to fail to design it effectively would be just about the ultimate failure of our entire career. So, literally everyone involved in that entire process. Holy shit. If you're gonna murder someone, at least actually do it. Who knew Alabama didn't have the best and brightest? Read governor's comments blaming criminals for the failed injections, confirmed suspicions that she's a Republican. Always wondered why capital punishment can't be carried out via an overdose of diacetylmorphine heroin for those countries which insist on executing people. There are practically infinite ways to obliterate someone in 1 second, even leaving the body almost completely intact. We really can't think of anything else? Come on, at this point I feel like 2 in the back of the head would be a better option than whatever TF we have going on RN. 3 hours for this to work, and that's if it does? We're overthinking the humane death thing so much we actually forgot to get on with it and make it lethal instead of cruel. I wonder when Alabama will enter the 20th century? As an anesthetic doctor, I'm fucking amazed they seem to be able to fuck this up. When I started in anesthesia I used to get recurrent nightmares about accidentally killing people. It's surprising they can't do this right. They must be so fucking incompetent, but that's probably because you doubt anyone particularly competent would involve themselves in an abomination like state-sanctioned murder. Jesus Christ, if we insist on killing people, just asphyxiate them with nitrogen. Damn, Alabama isn't even good at killing people. State-sponsored torture. Death cult party continues to do death cult shit. Fucking disgusting. Anybody supports this at all? Seriously, if you condone capital punishment, then a bullet to the head is better than 3 failed injections. Makes me sick. Why is it everything the right pushes is ineffective, inefficient and just plain inhumane? I don't understand how the death penalty has a place in an evolving humane society. If we're going to have executions, I don't understand how they all aren't just nitrogen suffocation by now. Always effective, probably cheaper, and painless. This is ridiculous. If we're going to be killing people, which we shouldn't, why is this considered more humans than a firing squad? Or like, carbon monoxide poisoning? Dead man walking should be mandatory reading for every high school student. Surely the Bible Belt can recognize divine intervention. I don't understand why we aren't just giving them nitrogen. It would literally just be suffocating them in the most gentle way possible. They would just go to sleep. They want to do it humanely, but they don't do it the most humane way possible? How about we just stop executing people? The premeditated killing of one person by another is either wrong or it isn't. You can't have both in a civilized society. Christians killing folks. So Christian. Jesus must be rolling in his, whatever. Fucking hypocritical monsters. The fact that our justice system regularly makes mistakes and ends up exonerating people after decades in prison should disqualify us from executing our citizens. Life in prison is a worse punishment anyway, and at least if you convict an innocent person to life in prison, you can kind of take it back.